Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I'm your host, Charles. Along with me, as always, my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, gunner, navigator, orator, and podcasting associate, Jacob Cloth. How you doing today, Jacob?
I am swell, Charles. Excited. Another episode of the podcast, episode 271. Very exciting. We're back with the show, pitching new TV shows, new pilot episodes every week, new worlds, characters.
Storylines, character arcs, it's gonna be crazy. Sometimes they're old characters. Jazz. Sometimes it's not new stories and new settings.
Yes, that's exactly where I was just going, Charlie, because it's not new stuff this week. It's old stuff because, I guess 2 weeks or maybe 3 weeks ago now, I pitched The Hardest Road Off Traveled, which was your title.
Yes, it was.
That you gave me.
Oh, yeah.
And when I did that, Charlie, I only gave you the pilot. I mean, I know this is the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast, and it's in the name. But, sometimes normally we give more than that, than just the pilot.
Usually, but not last.
So today
time.
You. So today I have 2 more full episodes, plus a brief look into the third episode, which is the end. So there is 4 episodes totally. The first one last week. So The Hardest Road Off Traveled. If you didn't watch the previous episode,
shame on you.
Show about shame on you. It was a show about a peasant boy in a medieval world who is the son of an executioner, and he just traveled to a new town where the blacksmith was to repair his dad's executioner's axe. And he's on his way back home, and because he's an executioner's son, he's very neglected in society. People don't want to be around him because he's constantly dealing with death. So on his way back home, he decides to take a less common route because he didn't want to be around all the people who were constantly giving him side eyes and looking at him strange. And he was getting a little self-conscious, a little angry. So he takes this side path instead, and on it he runs into a mysterious ghostly knight who doesn't let him across this bridge until he eventually discovers that the knight is guarding the bridge from an old battle. And after acknowledging that the battle has ended and telling the knight that his service is over, the knight lets him across the bridge, and he continues on his path. So that is where we left off with you. And the last scene that we saw, Charlie, if you remember, was Walnut, that is our boy's name, and his dog Marco walking down the path. We have a nice little long shot, and we see a horse come just into the foreground of the shot. Ooh. And a nice long sword coming down from the horse's side and a boot. So somebody's approaching. Somebody is following Walnut and Marco.
Somebody's gonna get him. You should
Somebody is.
You should have said we should have done it as previously on the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. That should have been our cold open, as you explaining last week or the previous episode of this show. We never do previously ons.
Well, we still could do that, I guess, but it's too late now. Anyway, we're back. Episode 2. This title is, I titled the episode, it is called The Forest. Episode 2, The Forest. Now, across the bridge, Walnut and Marco follow the path into a swamp. They both grow weary as the mud slows them down in very wet conditions, which dampen the mood, Charlie. The trees crowd them as they go, and the path gets narrower and narrower until roots are overlapping it, and trees hang over either side. Eventually, the path gets so narrow that Marco and Walnut are shuffling through the trees and the mud, leaving them both completely shattered and exhausted. Walnut finally decides to give it a rest and finds a small little alcove near the path where they can rest for the evening. He warns Marco that they won't sleep for long because, they have to continue on and get home. And Walnut will pull the axe, the big executioner's axe, out of its sling and put it beside the tree. And Marco starts whining for a fire, but Walnut shakes his head, explains that the axe is too new and too sharp for trees. It's for men. And anyway, it's for men, not trees. And he makes sure he says that part. It's for men, not trees. So without a fire, Walnut wraps Marco in his cloak, and the two huddle against a tree. In the night, they're woken by the sound of hushed voices. When Walnut looks around, you can see the glint of torches reflecting on the trees. The voices, Charlie, they're men. They're searching for someone. Where'd he go, they say. Is it this way? I can't see anything up beyond these godforsaken trees. He couldn't have gone far. Walnut hides deeper against the trees and obscures himself and Marco, hoping the men won't look his way. As they approach, he can hear a hulking sound. When he peeks through the blanket, he can see the path. The path that's to the path is now blocked by a tree. They're in this circle of trees now. And the men, they continue past, not noticing, the small little alcove where Walnut and Marco is, because now it's blocked by a tree all of a sudden.
Oh.
And Walnut and Marco, glad that the people are past, they go back to sleep to get some more rest. And in the morning, the tree that was just blocking the path, it's gone again. The path is open. So they head out. Walnut is cautious, but he thinks that the men continued onwards. They don't have to worry too much about it. And the path itself is, as I said before, Charlie, it was getting very narrow for them. But now it's pretty open. They're able to continue on without any roots getting in their way.
Yeah, the mud is
they have a much easier time.
Dried up, or it's not really muddy anymore. Maybe it's a little bit more gravelly.
Exactly, Charlie. Exactly. So everything is going great until they're suddenly ambushed and caught. And Charlie, as you may remember from the first episode, there was a squire in town.
Oh,
who,
yeah.
Was angry that the blacksmith wasn't going to repair his sword and he didn't have enough money. And he saw the big sack of money that Walnut, our executioner's son, was carrying around. And this squire, he's with a bunch of other gangsters and goons. He's turned up.
Mooks.
With all these thugs, and they're here to steal the blacksmith's son, Walnut's coin purse. They tie him upside down from a tree, and they start taking everything from his pack, talking about eating the dog, and they're gonna prepare to start a fire, so they can cook and eat them both. I think they're being funny when they're saying they're gonna cook and eat Walnut, but they're maybe serious about eating the dog.
Probably gonna eat that dog. It's like fantasy medieval times. You'll eat a dog, especially a dog owned by somebody you don't like very much.
Yeah,
They're
probably gonna eat this dog. So Walnut is desperately trying to do something, definitely trying to break through the binds, but the thugs, they've tied him tight, and the squire, they just keep teasing him and making fun of him as he fights against the binds, swinging around because he's upside down, tied to a tree. And in the midst of all this teasing, a creaky voice asks Walnut if his axe is truly for men and not for trees. Walnut is confused, and he looks around, and none of the men are looking at him. They're all over in the corner talking about the dog and laughing.
They've got the dog tied
up. And the
up
voice asks again, Charlie, is the axe for men, not trees? And Walnut answers yes. It's an executioner's axe. All of a sudden, the branch he's on lowers to the ground. He's able to get free. When he looks up, he can see the trees and the branches are attacking the men, Charlie. Marco, the dog, is able to get through, and he rushes to Walnut. And the pair watch as the thugs and the squire are surrounded and chased off by these trees. Walnut is amazed and surprised, and he thanks the trees, and a branch gives him back his axe. And again, the voice says, for men, not trees.
I knew it was going to be a magic tree monster.
Who doesn't love magic tree monsters?
Yeah, of course. I love magic tree monsters. I do think it would be a nice little touch if they give him back the axe and then one branch slowly descends, and on the end of the branch is an apple. And it, like, and Walnut picks the apple and says thank you. And then the tree says, for men, not trees. And then, and then Walnut takes it by the apple, and then Marco takes it by the apple.
Oh, that's great. I like that a lot. That's nice. Yeah. And I also named the episode The Forest. It should be changed to For Men, Not Trees, because that's obviously
that's the title. The theme of the episode. That's a big part of it. Yeah.
So Walnut is able to continue on in the forest, and the trees help him leave this sort of swampy, foresty area, but warn him that she is ahead before he leaves. And with no more explanation, all of the trees around him suddenly recede. And when Walnut turns around, he sees the swamp and the trees are actually a great distance away. So it's like the whole forest, Charlie, followed him along the path to make sure that he could continue and
in safety.
And in safety. But once they reach the edge of their distance, they return back to their original places. That is the end of episode 2.
I like that a lot.
Episode 3. The Witch. Walnut and Marco continue along the path as it rises up a hilly landscape, and it begins to get cold. Marco grows very tired, So Walnut carries him in a little slung sack on his back as he lugs him up the terrain. The wind picks up and the light snow begins to fall as Walnut pushes onward. The hill makes way to mountains, and Walnut struggles up the trail as the howling breeze threatens to blow him down the precipice. As his legs give out, he reaches a narrow pass through the rock. On the other side, the wind is still, and a great open view looks down on the valley. And Walnut, he can actually see his way home along this path down the mountain. But even closer, only a couple of feet away, is this great big inn just on the side of the mountain. And now Charlie, he's obviously quite tired from his journey. He's exhausted, and he goes up to the end, fervently reaching the door, pushing it open to see a lively interior full of life and warmth, and most importantly, Charlie, at this point, because he's only had an apple to eat since our journey has began.
Yeah.
Most importantly, food. And Walnut collapses at a table, completely exhausted. And a very motherly, kind innkeeper comes right up to him and recognizes his trouble. He's obviously very tired, beat, sweaty, exhausted, lifeless, drained.
Muddy.
And she gets him a hearty meal.
Yeah, the
some
dog
warm
is
blankets.
Muddy.
They're covered in mud.
Uh-huh.
Just horrible looking. Total mess. And she gets him a nice big meal, some blankets, and she offers to let him stay the night in one of their rooms upstairs. And he hardly has enough energy to thank her, but he does, and he happily digs into the meal. But Charlie, what's strange is that while Walnut is all happy and excited and enjoying the meal, Marco, the dog, is growling. It's angry. It's growling at this nice innkeeper lady. And Walnut is confused. He grabs Marco and pulls him back, and he's like, I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on with him.
Maybe she is maybe she offers to wash him, and she goes to grab Marco because he's also covered in mud, and she's like, there's we've got a place with hot water right now, I can take him, get him cleaned up, and then you can go for a bath. And then she reaches towards him, and then Marco nips at her and starts growling, and then Walnut's like, hey Marco, no bad dog, he's never like that. I don't understand. Oh, it's okay, sweetheart.
Exactly.
Just enjoy your food. Here's a little bit of something for the dog. And the dog, she takes a chicken leg or something, puts it on a plate in front of Marco, and Marco just sits and growls at it and looks at her and doesn't touch his food. And he's like, that's weird. But he's so tired and so exhausted that he doesn't even really pay attention to it,
Yeah, exactly. So, after scolding Marco, he eventually eats all the food that he can, rests by the fire for a long time, just trying to recuperate his strength, and eventually goes to bed. And Charlie, he spends the day there recuperating, and then another day, and then another day, and then another day, until nearly a week has passed since he's left the inn. Since he's even walked outside, Charlie, he's been in the inn this entire time. And the kind innkeeper is just so nice, and there are a great many interesting people coming in and out of the inn, and they're all so kind and nice to him. And something that's pretty big for him is that, of course, none of them know that he's an executioner's son.
Yeah.
Because Walnut's kept the axe well hidden. So this is the first time, as I explained in the first episode, that he's really socialized with people. He's kind of just been cooped up with his dad for all of his life, and now he's got tons of different rotating people coming through. Everyone's very nice to him. He gets to meet all kinds of different travelers and kinds of people. And so this is a huge moment for him just as a person.
Yeah.
And in his life as in this world.
His lonely existence. He's finally getting to meet people. So maybe he has there is a bit more suspicious stuff going on, but he's just choosing not to notice it because he's enjoying being social for the first time, Maybe there's even
you say
a girl
stuff, Charlie. Well, I'll get to that in a second. Marco is skittish this whole time and refuses to leave the room at all, which bothers Walnut greatly. And a split develops between man and his dog as he grows resentful that the dog won't be nicer to their incredibly gracious host that has not only fed them but housed them for all this time. Just, completely for free, just out of the niceness of her heart. And Walnut begins helping out at the inn, and he's making more friends and living a nice life. And it gets even better, Charlie, because as I told you in the first episode, there was that young girl with that caravan coming through that passed him on the route and asked if he wanted to ride. And they were, she's being very nice to him. She's at the inn now. She's come in. Her caravan is turned up at the inn. And, a relationship begins to develop between her and Walnut. And her dad, fortunately, he doesn't remember Walnut at all. Doesn't remember his face at all. He just thinks this is some nice young boy who works at the inn. Mm-hmm. So this is great for Walnut. Nobody knows he's an executioner's son except for maybe the caravan girl who didn't care in the first place. He's living this nice, happy life. He doesn't really want to ever leave. And everything, Charlie, seems absolutely perfect and idyllic in this little inn. And one night, as everything hits its epitome, everything in his life finally feels great. He's having dinner at the inn. The innkeeper is there. The caravan girl is there. Her dad's there. They're all eating, having a great time, when a great clattering comes down the stairs, Charlie.
Ooh.
And there, coming down the steps, is Marco. And in between his teeth is the uncovered blade out of the executioner's axe. Walnut freaks out and apologizes to everyone. He scolds the dog. He's angry. He's pissed off. His beautiful existence is ruined because his stupid dog has exposed him to the whole inn. Now his life's over. The dad's gonna see that he's an executioner's son. The innkeeper's gonna kick him out. Everything that he just worked so hard to get, this beautiful life, is all gonna be over. And Walnut, as he's fretting over this and yelling at his dog and apologizing, he's surprised that no one seems to care in the slightest.
Ooh. Everybody's
the caravan
like,
girl's dad doesn't even seem to recognize why it's a problem. He's like, silly dog. We can wrap that up for you and put it upstairs. Well, actually, sorry, wait, why don't you wrap that up and bring it upstairs and we can get back to our meal? And he's like, he's just confused, Charlie. He doesn't understand. He's understood what this axe has meant all his life, what his position means to everybody in the world. And while this, the caravan girl is an exception to the rule, he does not think that certainly all of these people are the exception to the rule.
Yeah, that would be a pretty big coinky-dink.
He's very confused, and he feels like he needs some air, and he starts to go towards the door, but everybody gets up suddenly, very quickly, at the same time. And they stand between him and the door. And Walnut's trying to push through, but they keep grabbing him, pulling him back. And so he starts putting out his elbows, trying to push people away. And a fight begins to break out. And he finds that everyone in this inn, even the older people, are quite strong, very strangely.
Huh.
And he's trying to push through them, and they're shoving him back, and their voices are starting to change. They were all sweet before, but now they're kind of shaky and brittly, and he's getting confused, and he's pushing and fighting all these people. And eventually gets shoved to the ground near Marco and the axe, and he grabs it with his hand, and as soon as he picks it up, everybody takes a massive step backwards. They all are, even more frightened of the blade than, anybody would be afraid of a blade.
Uh-huh.
It seems not that just that they're backing up, but that it's repelling them backwards.
Oh, okay.
So he grabs the axe, and he's using it to ward everyone off. Everyone is very clearly physically repelled by it, except for the innkeeper herself.
Uh-huh.
And as Walnut uses it to step out the door, reality comes into focus, Charlie. This great, nice inn is not a great, nice inn. It's a burned, ancient building covered in snow and rot.
Oh.
And the idyllic countryside is snow, stone, and wind. There is no view of the way home, just endless, misty path out into the distance. Looking back into the inn, Charlie, there are no patrons. There are only horrible skeletons, all repelled by the stench of death on the executioner's blade.
Ooh.
And there is no innkeeper, just an angry witch howling at him to come back. Walnut is terrified. He scoops up Marco and he flees into the snow as the skeletons and the witch lumber after him. The skeletons, they're stepping on top of the stone. They're not even slipping into it. And so they're catching up quickly. and he reaches a footbridge, a wooden footbridge that goes across a massive chasm. And he quickly runs across the bridge, but the skeletons, they're catching up. And just as he reaches the other side, he falls to his feet, the executioner's blade skittering away onto the other side of the bridge. And he looks back and he sees there's one skeleton that's grabbing his foot, grabbing his leg. And he looks back and its face, it morphs from the skeleton back into the caravan girl, and its voice morphs as well. And it's like, Walnut, please just come back to the inn. And he's frozen in a mix of fear and confusion and mixed feelings. And part of him, just his back is on the other side is on like the actual land, while the rest of it, his lower body, is still on the footbridge.
Uh-huh.
And he sees all of a sudden one of the ropes snap, and he turns, and it's Marco. He's chewing through the ropes. He chews through the second rope. The bridge falls. He's able to quickly scramble onto the land, and he watches as all the skeletons, the witch, and most importantly, the caravan girl tumble into the darkness of the chasm.
She says as she's
End of episode 3. Now, Charlie, I explained that I had 2 full episodes, and now I have a little shorter episode, which is the end, the last episode. I say shorter. This would be full length, but I didn't write it all out because, I've written out 3 episodes at this point for this show, so I'm not going to write out the whole show.
Yeah.
Can't ask
I have an
too much
idea for a title for that episode, by the way. Friends Like These, I think would be a good title.
I like
for
that.
that previous.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, Friends Like These, or Cut the Mustard.
Yeah, I love a good people, stuck in a whether it's a hotel or a inn or whatever it is while they're on a journey.
Yeah.
Like in Percy Jackson, they're stuck in I think it's like the Lotus Hotel or whatever it is.
Yeah. The Lotus Flower Hotel from based off of the Odyssey. I also think a fun little background detail we could do is that, like, there's all these different, like, adventurers and travelers coming through, but they all have, like, the same 4 faces, And there's just, like, a difference in clothing and, like, facial hair and stuff like that, and, like, fashion.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
But it's the same 4, like, corpses, because I read it as this is, like, a witch who has, like, enthralled these beings, into being, like, her sort of, like, playthings, her puppets to capture other people. And so she only has really the power to really conjure one face from Walnut's memory, Mm-hmm. And that's why she picks the caravan girl, because that's the one, like, she can see that's the one, like, person that would really get him to stay, because he's like, oh, I like a girl, and she likes me, and, everyone's treating me nice, but all the background people are just the same characters, with slightly different clothing and like, hairstyles.
Yeah.
Because, and so that he's meeting all these new people, but it's really the same people just over and over and over again, I think that could be just a fun little background thing. Yeah, we could have, like, the same, like, 4 or 5 actors that play every character that we see through the inn. And in every shot, they're just wearing different clothes and have different prosthetics, maybe, or different hairstyles and things. That'd be cool. Be neat. Yeah. But you have a last episode.
All right. Episode 4, The Dragon. Of course it had to be a dragon. The Knight, the Witch, and the Dragon. That's the theme. Oh, and the forest as well. But, you get the idea. It's a cursed
forest, a witch, a knight, a dragon. Yeah. Total, like, classic fantasy tropes.
Classics. So, the dragon. Marco and Walnut, they continue on until they reach a labyrinth. This great labyrinth in the mountain range. And in a cave, the labyrinth, they're going through it constantly, this maze that seeming like it goes on forever. There'll be riddles and all that kinds of stuff throughout it. But it ends, Charlie, with a dragon who seems like it will kill them, but it gives them a choice. So it's a talking dragon, like Smaug is in The Lord of the Rings, or
like really classic dragons usually talk. Yeah. I kind of feel like dragons, when they don't talk, aren't very interesting. Like, oh, it's just a big lizard that shoots fire out of its mouth. But when a dragon's talking and it's like giving riddles and you can like outsmart it, that's when a dragon.
Yeah.
I've been around for
Love a
1,000
wise
years. I've watched, kingdoms come and go, heroes throughout all of the ages have come to try and slay me, and none have succeeded, right? And Walnut has to use his head, because all the other heroes use their,
Well,
swords
see, here,
and
that's the
shields
thing.
and
We
shit.
kind of have a, is it Indiana Jones' The Last Crusade situation here? So he gets in, and the dragon gives him a choice. It says, it's now, this choice seems like it matters a lot, Charlie, because there's a room of a lot of treasure around them. Like mountains of gold. The dragon is sleeping on a big mound of gold. Classic, situation.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of skeletons, a lot of dead, burned people around as well. So there's clearly a wrong choice. And the dragon says, you've made it through the labyrinth, so I'm going to give you a choice. You can have anything that you desire. But do
I just
not
have an idea.
Choose wrongly.
Would it be funny if we see the squire and his band of mooks and goons are the latest in the addition of all of the skeletons? Just a little background detail. Just like, because the forest kicked them out further along than it kicked out Walnut and Marco, and so they skipped over the inn because the witch doesn't have enough power to take on 8 guys. And they made it to the labyrinth and made it through and then got burned to death because they're idiots,
I like that. That's good. We can see their bodies. And so the dragon gives Walnut this choice. You can have whatever you desire, but do not choose wrongly. Or I don't know what the word will be, but wrongly works, I guess.
Yeah.
There is clearly a wrong choice. So Walnut looks around, all this treasure, all this gold, it's this, whatever he picks here. I mean, if he picked treasure, he could live a very happy life for the rest of his life in society. He could maybe get rid of his whole problem as the executioner's son. He could move away, move to a new town, start a new life. Be a nice, wealthy merchant or something.
Yeah.
And he's looking around, but there really is only one thing he wants. And he looks at the dragon, and he says he just wants to go home. The dragon, happy that Walnut has passed the test, helps him down deeper into the mountain, deeper into the cave. And he's led down into a massive underground cavern with a massive lake in it. This big underground lake. And there's a little boat, just a little tiny sailboat, sitting in the water. And Walnut hops in with Marco, and they unfurl the sail. And the dragon lets out a big breath and blows him away into the darkness of the cave. And we can have a cool little scene where there's bioluminescent lights on the top of the cave, and it feels like we're almost drifting along in space.
I have an idea about this boat that I think would be cool. So you remember in the first episode how there was a guy who was at the very beginning of the trail who Marco's you're not scared of me. He's the hermit. I think it would be cool if the hermit was on the boat, and he was kind of almost a Charon style, he was the boat, the ferryman. Yeah. I think that would be a fun little detail, right? This is a journey that you were almost sort of destined to succeed on, and I was here to watch the whole thing if you wanted. That's interesting. Or we could do the big sail, because I also think the dragon doing a big gust of wind and then sending the boat all across, and we can still do the bioluminescent cave algae on the top and reflecting onto the water. Or
I want it to be a solitary journey, so I'm thinking I do think the hermit thing needs to be added. So maybe if there was some sign in the boat that the hermit was there, I think that would be good. He had a dagger. The coin purse that Walnut had given him is there now. Or there's some bit of his clothing or something that Walnut had given the hermit is now on that boat. Yeah. And Walnut will like pick it up and be a little confused, and he'll look back at the dragon. And maybe there'll be like a hint that maybe the dragon is him or something like that. Uh-huh. And we'll just continue on. But keep it mysterious, whatever it is.
Yeah. We never make it like abundantly clear, but it's because I think the hermit should come back at some point throughout the story, just as like sort of like a bookend for Walnut's adventures. And
now the last shot of the show, it's very specific what I want. I want a Walnut coming out of the cave, and we have this like the shot. So the camera would be inside the cave, looking out. So it's all the light of the world outside. It's very bright, and we just see Walnut kind of silhouetted. And as he steps out of the cave, a caravan comes past, and it's the girl, Charlie, from the first episode. She's sitting on the back of the caravan, and she sees Walnut, and she smiles and waves. And Walnut smiles and waves back until she gets a little farther down the hill. And then he takes the axe, and he slings it over his back, and he starts the walk home.
I like that.
End of show. That was the hardest road oft traveled.
Oft, baby. Oft traveled. I like that a lot. That was a fun show. A fun, sweet little fantasy show about a young man who's giving it his all and becoming his own person outside of his father's shadow. I liked it.
It was great. It was a fun show. A show of discovery for this young boy who feels neglected by society.
Yeah. I also like that we never see his dad. His father, much like his status in civilization, is just this ever looming presence that you never really fully know, but you do know how it affects our main character, right? I think it keeps it very centered. I like that, because I do think it'd be a little bit cheap if he gets home and it's John Hamm and he's got like, I've got your lunch on, I got dinner on the boil, son, have a seat, I'll get you a bowl of soup. And then Marco goes and curls up into his bed. It's like, no, that's sweet, but it's nicer that Marco is like, or Walnut's like, I'm my own person, you know?
Yeah, it's nice that I like ending the show and him almost being home. The journey is almost over.
Yeah. All right. I like that show a lot. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I'm your host, Charles. Along with me, as always, my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, gunner, navigator, orator, and podcasting associate, Jacob Gloth. If you like what you heard here and you want to hear more, please give us a like, a follow, subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your dog, tell your cat. Tell your friends, tell your dog, tell your cat. And remember, we will be here next week with a brand new televisual series, which will be titled, Jacob, tell me what the title is. I know what the title is already, but
I don't remember.
Isn't it The Mask of Tomorrow? Yeah.
The Mask of Tomorrow, yes, that's what it is.
Yeah. The Mask of Tomorrow will be next week's episode. I will be writing it, and I am going to think about it, because I am now unemployed, and so I have nothing but free time.
Nice. Nothing but excitement and thrilling adventures ahead in The Mask of Tomorrow.
The Mask
Thank you for
of
listening.
Tomorrow.
See you all next week.